Okay.
Yeah.
Welcome,
Imagine,
Robin Young.
Rewind.
uh,
Yeah, rewind, Robin. Start again.
yeah. Imagine you went to buy yourself a Ferrari, and the sales representative says to you, "Hey, you know what? This engine's a very special engine. It's tuned to use a very high octane level of fuel." And you're barely listening. You're kind of like just so excited, but then you go to the gas station and you start putting in lower grade gasoline. You look at the price point, you're like, "Oh my gosh, that's a lot of money for me to be able to fuel this engine." So you start putting in lower grade fuel into it constantly, but then you think to yourself, "Oh, I'll add additives to that fuel to kind of make it better." But you could keep putting in that lower grade fuel. Well, that engine, even though it's designed to run optimally with an optimal fuel, but over time, what ends up happening is that that engine starts getting lower grade fuel. So it actually down regulates its ability to output the performance because it's really intelligent, right? It's like there's a computer system built into that engine. So if you're not giving it the fuel that it needs, it down regulates its ability to be able to function at a high level. Are you following me on that? The
Following
same
you.
thing happens in our body. Our body is a high performance engine. Every one of our cells is like a little F1 racing car, and it is designed to need a high performance fuel. And at about 25 or 30, that fuel system starts to be depleted. So we start feeling all the symptoms of aging. We start to feel tired. We start to realize we can't be human carburetors anymore and eat anything we want and feel perfectly fine. We start to eat carrots and get bloated, like all the symptoms of aging that comes from all of us as individuals. Like waking up in the morning and still feeling like for 3 hours later you're still exhausted. Like you've got chemicals in your brain that need to get out of your brain. That's why you shouldn't drink caffeine for the first 90 minutes of waking up, because that those hormones can't release out of your brain when you drink caffeine. Sorry, everybody. But the thing is that everything in your body, whether it be thinking, moving your pinky finger, or pumping your heart, all needs fuel. We take for granted that it just works for ourselves because we never earned it, right? We were just born with it. And so it just works for us. We kind of, you get to a point in life where all of a sudden you start realizing, hey, things aren't working the way that I took for granted anymore. And now you're always trying to add additives to it. This is the additive part where you start thinking, oh, maybe I need more protein, or oh, maybe I need to add this type of fat burner or this type of metabolism booster, or all these additives you start adding to a low grade fuel system that your body's getting. And this is why people get results in the meantime, but then they actually revert back to where they are because the fuel system never changed. You got to get back to the changing the fuel system. For fat loss, for instance, when you're eating nutritious food, let's say you're doing the best that you can, you're eating nutritionally. Your body needs a fuel system to be able to convert that food into doing all the processes that it needs. It needs starts in your mouth with saliva, and then it goes into your gut, and you need the acid production properly, and then you need the breakdown in your intestine to your large intestine. You need to be able to absorb all that breakdown and shuttle it into cells and use it. That all takes NAD. It all takes this high performance fuel system. So if your cells aren't fueled the way they should, and just so you know, your gut replaces its cells every 24 hours. So if your cells aren't getting the fuel system that it needs to do the job that they're doing, they're inefficient, right? Now they're down regulating their performance. So if they're down regulating their performance, the metabolism has to slow down. So you're doing everything your best, right? You're getting results by exercising daily. But what happens if you stop exercising? What happens if you stop taking the berberine? What happens if you stop taking the fat burners? What happens if something happens in your life? You end up reverting back. And this is why people do those yo-yo diets all the time. But when you got to ask yourself, for most people, when you were 20, when you were 25, you looked different, you felt different, you didn't deal with the things that you were dealing with. All those things when you were 20, 25, you're like, this is when your body was flooded with NAD, this fuel system that regulated everything. Everybody was getting everything they needed in your body. And then you hit a time, and this is why this is so important. Why weight loss products, why collagen products, why all these things are preventative measures. Once the NAD lowers in the body, now people are adding all these additives, but not getting to the root. Get to the root, resolve the issue from the root, and that's where get your body to make its own NAD. That's why I'm very big on to not using exogenous NAD, where we go getting IV drips, even though people can get really great results from that. It's again a preventative measure because you have to take so much of it because it's an exogenous form. That's why you have IV drip bags. Like you got to ask yourself, if I'm sitting there with this IV drip bag, you know, when you can take a tiny, tiny little pill and it will just do miraculous things in your body. But then you have to sit there and take an IV drip bag, sit there for like an hour and a half and have this NAD flooded in your body. You have to have so much in your body because your body doesn't know how to use it. It's not it's an exogenous form, meaning it's not DNA exact. Your body knows what it needs to do with what it makes itself. When you take an exogenous form, you have to give so much in hopes that your body will actually utilize it. It's like the wrong key isn't going into the lock properly. That's why our product on so many levels is so great, is because it makes your body actually make its own NAD again. So it knows what it needs to do. You don't have to spend all the thousands of dollars and sit there and get the flood of it. And the problem with exogenous forms is you don't know where that's coming from. It's all synthetic, right? And I love synthetic things, no problem. But the thing is, there's a time and a place for things like that, not a consistent. Because here's the thing, when you look at it, you're like, okay, if I'm in a place where I'm 35 or 40, 45, 50, and I'm losing NAD, am I going to be stuck with the rest of my life of having IV drip bags stuck into my arm to be able to like continue going on with this? Because it wears off every 7 to 10 days. You have to get another injection of it. Is that going to be for the rest of my life? And at that price point, while with our product, you can take this product just like anything else, you're going to be taking stuff anyway. You'll be able to get rid of so much stuff that you were taking. Take this, and as you can see with all the testimonials that people are having, they're getting better results just by taking this than all those other things they've had. Like I measure my sleep every night, and for the longest time, like I'll give you an example. I had a neck injury that happened a couple years ago, and something really, really weird happened to me. Like I was in and out of the hospital for like a year. Like I was going to emergency like 6 times in a year, and it was doing really, really weird things to me. And my sleep, my HRV went down to 12. Like I didn't know what was happening. Nobody could figure out anything that was happening, and I started to really notice that my sleep, my deep restful REM sleep, was like I was getting like 20 minutes a night no matter what was happening. And I've watched what's happened over the last time as I've been getting better, but now for like I would say 6 months as I've been measuring my sleep, I get into that deep restful rejuvenation power washing sleep. I was getting 40 minutes a night. Partly as I exercise too much. So I'll say that, when you exercise that much, your body can't recover as quickly, right, Sarah? And I now I'm noticing as I'm measuring my sleep that I'm actually getting into that deep restorative sleep all night. Like I'm going in and out like every 90 minutes as the cycle should be. Most people only get it within the first 3 hours of sleep, but I'm getting it all like every 90 minutes. I'm dipping into that area, getting like up to 2 hours of deep, restful rejuvenation sleep every single night. The only time that ever happens in a human's life is when they're teenagers. It's the only time. After that, most people get about 30 minutes of that restorative power washing sleep for the rest of their life. They may sleep 8 hours, but it's about what's the quality of the sleep in those 8 hours. This has been a game changer. I've been looking at it every day and I'm like, wow. Because if you want hormone regulation, you got to sleep well. If you want to burn fat, it only happens when you sleep. It doesn't happen when you're exercising and running up a mountain. All the benefits of what you want have to happen when you sleep.
You need to
That's
do a
why
post. We're going to do a post about that for you. That's huge.
it's a
That is
major
really
thing.
huge. We were just talking
Yeah.
about this, Robin, so I'm glad you're talking about the sleep part of it, because as women, like we do not sleep well. Like after our 20s, like
He knows.
there isn't a woman out there that can say, "Oh my
Yeah.
God, I have a restful 10 hours of sleep every night." Like that's not happening.
No.
So I love that you're talking about.
But I want to
But
go
look at
back to
this.
the
Just look at this for a sec. Okay, the bottom line is that power washing sleep. Okay. First of all, look at the middle line. That is how much I'm actually in deep sleep. The bottom is the pressure washing. This is where your body actually does all the things that you need to do. The red on the top is how much I actually moved around. At the end there is just before I woke up, where my dog woke up and she's like, "Get me out of here." So I actually woke up and had to help her off the bed, but look, barely even moved. Let me show you what was happening before. See that rest, that deep rest at the bottom there?
Yep.
you
It's
got to
only
post
in
that.
it's only in the very beginning. And I'm not even joking. Like, look, every night, that's how my
Nothing.
sleep was. Look at that. Look at even there. Barely anything. Every night. Look at that. Barely anything. I'll go over here. This is why tracking sleep is so powerful. Look at this. This is the night prior. Where is it? Yeah. It just keeps getting better and better and better. And that's why I started taking it at night. Well, actually, I take it as soon as I come back from my run, like around 4 o'clock in the afternoon is when I take it. But
Robin,
it's
I want to ask you about
It
the
helps
fat
so much
loss
with
again for a second.
what was that?
I want to ask you about the fat loss again for a second, because you talked about the NAD levels depleting being a reason why we have a hard time losing weight, why we gain weight easily, because we're losing the NAD as we get older. But where do hormones play a role? Because typically, and this is just generalization, it's women that struggle more with that than men. And so are you saying that men lose their NAD slower? Like, do you have extra NAD? I feel like you do. Like for women, what is it? How does this play a role in the hormones? And the hormones that we've been blaming, and maybe it's been right or maybe it's been wrong, for our menopause muffin top, like our hormone changes and suddenly we can't eat whatever we wanted to like we used to be able to, and now we gain really easily and lose really hard. Like you've watched me the last 15 years struggle. So I've always said that's hormones, because it doesn't typically happen to men, and it doesn't typically happen until a woman is a certain age. So how is hormones and NAD, if it's NAD, then why aren't men struggling with it as much?
Well, there's you can go into a deep dive onto that one, and I could look even further into that when it comes to menopause and NAD, like specifically. But
Yeah.
the one thing is, it primarily stems, everything goes back to sleep, quality of sleep. All regulation and flipping that switch of starting again and doing all the repair that the body needs happens in sleep. So for a lot of people, if you act, some people may think they sleep fine, but if you actually measure their
Yeah.
sleep, this is why measuring sleep is really important. If you're not getting the results you want, measure your sleep.
Yeah.
If you're getting all the results you want, you don't really need to measure your sleep. If you feel if everything is great, then you're probably fine. But if you're not fine and you're struggling, measure your sleep. I guarantee you that the issue is happening there. There's a lot of factors that go into it, but what a lot of people don't know is at about 3 hours into sleeping is when cortisol will actually increase. It's why the naturopath told you, Sarah, to eat protein before you went to bed to help mitigate the cortisol release at about 3 hours into sleep. So that's when you wake up, right? That's when cortisol starts to increase. That's why we wake up when we wake up. That's why having your circadian rhythm on point is so important, because it allows for natural hormone release where you can naturally be waking up before your alarm, because the cortisol is timed properly to getting up. But what happens is that the for a lot of women during menopause is the adrenal gland goes haywire, and
Right.
all other glands, hormones, have an on-off switch. The adrenal gland does not. It's either it's always on. It's just at what level it's on. When you're younger, your adrenal gland isn't on high alert. But when menopause kicks in, due to a bunch of regulations that happen in the body, the adrenal gland can be on full force, which is why there's anxiety, which is why when adrenal gland and why you don't sleep properly, because when the adrenal gland is pumping out that hormone, it triggers cortisol, which is why sleeping is terrible, which is why weight gain happens. Because when cortisol is spiked, cortisol spikes insulin, and insulin is a fat storing hormone. So there's always a chain when you have to go like, well, where does it begin with, right? And where does it begin? And most of everything begins with poor sleep.
Yeah,
That's why sleep
such
is
a good
so critical.
answer. Thank you.
Oh, I
And
love this.
yeah, and so the reverse, and Kim, you should try taking it. I started 10 days ago taking it at dinner time. And that was when I noticed my sleep get better. So not so much when I was taking it in the morning, but maybe I needed more time too. I didn't really notice any results with reverse until about 4 or 5 weeks. I'm at like 9 weeks now. So try taking it at dinner time. But Robin, can you speak to then how the reverse, how is it helping with sleep? Okay, we talked about how it was helping with fat loss and metabolism. Is it the exact same answer for the sleep? It's literally just taking everything back, reversing your biological age, and you're sleeping like you did when you were younger. I mean, in layman's terms, that's really it, isn't it? We're getting younger, and so we're sleeping better.
Well, you have those, yes, you have two ages in your body. You have your chronological age, which is you blowing out your birthday candles, right? You can't do anything about that. Can't do anything.
Oh, you can lie.
Yeah, that's true. You can lie about it for sure. Yeah, absolutely. You can lie about it. But you can't do anything about it, other than like physically you can't actually change the fact that time is still happening for you, but you can absolutely change your biological age. And here's what's really scary, and I kind of hesitate on talking about it, but I really go into it a lot on the webinar, because the purpose of the webinar is to really help people understand that, look, you need this. And that's why I really go heavy on the biological age. You can be 40 years old but be 70 inside. You'll die early. Simple as that.
Yeah.
That's like, depending on the amount of toxins that you allow into your life consistently, the amount of poor nutrition that you're already doing, the stress. Well, people think like when you're out and about stressed and thinking terrible thoughts, like that's just a passive thing. It's killing you. It is increasing cortisol levels. Like, think about something like when you are stressed about something, how you actually can feel it in your body. You're releasing cortisol. Your adrenal gland is pumping. You're releasing cortisol, and it is a like very viscose type of situation happening in your body, like sandpaper. It is literally like having studs on a tire. It is destroying the inside of your body. It's increasing inflammation, which is like a fire in your body. It is literally, you are on fire on the inside out. Your body is deteriorating. And all them people who live high stress levels, like, think about this. You can take somebody who's been struggling to lose 30 pounds, struggling. They've done every single thing imaginable that they've found to be a preventative measure to be able to release weight. They've exercised, they've done everything. Then they go away on vacation to Mexico for 2 weeks. They go to an all-you-can-eat buffet on the beach, beautiful crystal clear water, just having a wonderful time. They ate more than they've ever eaten, and they lost 15
I've
pounds.
been there.
Right? Like, what the heck? How is this? It's stress. It's everything. The stress, when your body is in a stressful situation, when you're in that place, you are being chased by an animal all the time. So what happens? Blood flow goes to where it needs because you're in a stressful situation. Your pupils are bigger to allow for more light in, so that you're more aware of your surroundings. You're always in an anxious state because you're ready to flee. You're not in a calm, rejuvenated state. This is why stress is a literal killer, and people become like a frog turning on the water on slow. They become acclimated to water getting hotter and hotter, and you're not getting out. And eventually stress will kill you. It is the number one thing that causes inflammation in the body, and it is the number one reason why and inflammation is the number one cause of all disease. Inflammation, aside from nutrition, aside from, like, if you want to help with your body get rid of inflammation more than ever, if you didn't have reverse, you need to make sleep a full-time job.
Yeah, I'm
Everything
obsessed
you're
with
doing,
it.
you have
I'm
to be
obsessed with
obsessed.
my sleep.
The guy, Brian Johnson, who spends $2 million a year on taking, what is it, 58 pills a day. He eats gray slop. And he eats from when he wakes up at like 5 a.m. to like 11 a.m. He doesn't eat anymore after that. But he eats 2 meals a day of this gray slop. And they asked him, like, what's like the one thing like that you could say to somebody who doesn't want to invest the time and money into living forever? What's the one thing that you'd recommend that somebody does to change their life entirely? And he says sleep.
Yeah.
Everybody knows, the people who understand longevity understand the number one thing that is more important than how you eat, with the exercise that you do, the people you surround yourself with. The most important thing is sleep. We're over in anything. That's why. But first of all, it's not sexy, right? It's hard to get, when you're talking about fat loss and six-pack abs and Botox and all this stuff that most people care about
Lighter
because
skin, hair
right, it's on the
growth.
outside, right? But
Yeah.
if you want like, think about this. When you're a teenager and your teenager is like goes to bed at like midnight and can sleep 12 hours until noon, but we try to get them up at 8 o'clock to go to school. Do you know how devastating and damaging that is to a teenager's brain? Because they are designed, they're not doing it because they're lazy, they're doing it because they're designed at that point to repair. That is what is happening in a teen as they're growing, as they're developing, and they're learning, as they're expanding, like as their brain is still developing till 25. They need to have that much sleep. But society puts us into this pocket where sleep is like a secondary, third, or even fifth category over success, over all the things. If you want a
Sports.
better quality of life in every single way, you need to make it.
Yeah.
The collective would have a lot greater results with focusing on sleep. But on top of that, go to bed at the same time, wake up at the same time. When Sarah and I travel anywhere, I get up at 6 o'clock every day.
No matter what the time change, it could
No
feel
matter what
like
the
3
time,
a.m. to us, and we set our alarm
still
and
up
we
at
get up
still
at
up.
the 6 a.m. even though it
Yeah,
might
when we were in Orlando, we
like
got in
3
late,
a.m., but we got up.
still get up 6 a.m. no matter what happens. 6 a.m.
So how does by the way, if I had kids again, I honestly, knowing what I know, because I know this and Robin's read the books and we've talked, I would literally let my children sleep until noon, and I would hire a nice woman to be their homeschool teacher.
Oh my gosh, same. I don't know what to do myself, but yeah,
I wouldn't do
really
it.
good to know, just because society thinks that teenagers that are doing that are just lazy and
I thought that.
Yeah. I have a question though, and I've had this question asked to me quite a bit the last couple of days. So we came from a world where we were, using collagen, and we still are. Well, I haven't been using collagen for a few months now, actually, but I've had this question because I've had so many different customers who have been taking a quality collagen. How is this something that is going to create your own collagen production in your body? And I am noticing, I've only been on it for a month now, but I am have more mobility in my joints than I have in years. Like I am doing yoga. It's so amazing to me. Like I've literally, because I try to do yoga every single morning, not 100%, but I'm about 90%. And my husband's usually drinking his coffee while I'm doing it. I've stopped my yoga and went, look at this. Like my right hip isn't as mobile as my left. And it's at least 50% more mobile in some of the poses that I'm doing now. And I have nothing else to explain except that I've been taking reverse for the last month. My spine, that I have a really bad scoliosis in my mid T-spine, like I am having way more flexibility. It doesn't feel as stiff as it used to. And the only thing that's changed is taking reverse in the last month. So how is this doing that collagen production?
Explain us that.
It's what?
It's really simple.
Explain us that.
Yeah, I want to hear that.
It's super simple. Your body stops doing a lot of the things because it doesn't have the fuel source to do it again. Your body's still making collagen. It's not
Right.
stopped. It's just otherwise you'd shrivel up and be dead.
Right.
Your body's just not producing an abundance form of what you're used to for that youthfulness. Your body's still repairing and doing the things it needs to do, but where it could be at 100%, like just always go back to where you were when you were 20. And you were at your optimal abundance of everything. Most people, very few people were dealing with like diseases and things like that going on. And there's factors for that. But if you were to take like an average 20-year-old, they weren't dealing with thinning hair and joint issues and waking up feeling sore after walking their dog around the block. Like they weren't dealing with things like that. It's NAD fuels the ability to actually make the collagen cells again. Like those cells are there. They just don't have the fuel to make it happen. Now we're going to it's really that simple. Your body is still doing everything that it's used to doing. It's just doing it incredibly inefficiently. And now when you give it what it's that fuel source again, you're taking that Ferrari that you're used to, you've downgraded to like an 84 grade quality. And now we're going to put 97 back in. And now that engine is going to recalibrate and optimize to where it actually can utilize that fuel. See, if you were putting 97 grade gasoline into a car that wasn't used to that, well, then you'd be fine. But you are you are the most complex, intelligent thing on the earth. And it needs fuel, just like your iPhone does, just like the computer we're on does, just like our lights that are making us look pretty do. All these things take fuel, right? And there's all different forms of fuel. Your body there's no different. And the thing, what's so funny is like, think about this. All the time when you talk to somebody about I'm dealing with this, what do they make? What's like the one thing? Let's say you wanted to get fit, okay? Let's say you're 45 years old and you're finding yourself struggling to lose weight, right? You're struggling to lose weight, you're not sleeping well, you're finding yourself moody, you're just like, oh my gosh, I'm falling asleep. Where's my nap pillow that I want to keep in a backpack so when I'm on the bus, I can take a nap? What does everybody tell you to do? Work harder. Work harder at eating better. Work harder at exercising more. Take my program and do all these things. But nobody ever says, well, what was that? If you look back to when you weren't dealing with issues and now you look at where you are dealing with issues, what's changed? Nothing. What's changed other than the fact that your body isn't being fueled with the way it used to? So if somebody says to you, you need to get on my diet program, it's like, but do I? I wasn't on your diet program when I was 20. I ate anything I wanted. I didn't need to follow a keto diet when I was 20. Why do I need to follow a keto diet now? Why do I need to be a carnivore? Why do I need to do all these things? I didn't deal with all that stuff before. That doesn't make sense. But people say, oh, this could be the thing. And that's where my brain never understood it. It was like, I'm incredibly complex but simple at the same time. But if you get back, and this is why, like a long time ago, I understood the power of NMN and what it did with NAD. I don't know if you guys know this, but it was back in the springtime. Sarah and I were taking NMN. I love it when I bring in pills and Sarah says, "Are you going to get? Do I get this? Do I get
just
to
go
have
like
this?"
I have mine, please. You could
I
kill
get
me.
two things.
You could
I
kill
get
me.
I get two things. One is, why are you buying more stuff? And two, can I have some? But here's the thing. Sarah and I were talking with Chance about NMN because I was talking to Chance, Barb and Dave's son. We were all talking about biohacking and how I love poking myself with needles of things and like doing all sorts and having bottles full of stuff, and Sarah and I taking all these things, and we shared with Chance, dude, NMN. Do you know about NMN and what it does? Like the power of this. He had never heard of it. And I shared with him a resource that I had found because NMN is so expensive. Like it's brutally expensive. Like a month of it can be like $400 just for NMN. And I had to research and research and research and find a version of it that wasn't full of a bunch of fillers. And I had to find one that wasn't going to break the bank for us. It actually would break the bank if her and I had to have our own actual amount every month. It was going to be so expensive for us to have NMN. And I found this place in the States. It's also really hard to find in Canada, by the way, NMN. And I like any version of it. So we started talking to Chance about it. And I said, dude, you got to check this stuff out. He bought it. and did the research on it that I sent him a bunch of things. And he said, could you imagine if Frequence had a product that was NMN that made NAD that was frequency charged? I said, dude, absolutely. This is why I shared it with you. This would be the next game-changing product if people really understood the power of this. And then look at that. Lo and behold, you know, this is the product that we all ended up getting because we had this conversation with them, because this really is the future. It really is. Like, if you look at frequencies and everything where we've come so far, the movement of where we're actually going when it comes to health is getting back to, okay, why was the body healthy before and it's not now? What's changed? Well, NAD, and that's where David Sinclair comes in. He found that NAD lowers dramatically starting at about 25, and it lowers the function of everything. Everything starts to degrade. Your ability to deal with stress goes down. Your sleep goes down. Your metabolism goes down. Everything starts going down, which is why you live a lifespan more than a health span, because of all the issues that happen. Your body is designed to fix itself, but we don't live lifestyles that allow for our bodies to fix ourselves anymore. We used to be hunter-gatherers, right? And nowadays we eat whatever we want because we have a farm in our fridge. We have cattle ranches in our fridge. We have everything that we need easily accessible because we feel like it. Now we can just live based on emotions, not based on needs. We can do whatever we want, open the fridge, eat because we're bored. And all of this wreaks havoc on our bodies. So I just felt like I just went off there for a second. Anyhow,
You did.
Robin, can you explain
It
a
was
little
good,
bit
though.
more with
We
the
love it.
NMN? The NMN
NMN?
and yeah, can you explain that a little bit more and how that works here? Because the reverse has NMNH in it, right?
Yeah. You know, here's what's funny. I always think about NMN. It's like, this is what my brain does when I think about this. NMN is what actually makes NAD in your body. NAD doesn't just show up. You need the precursor to it to make it. You know what my brain says? I'm not a religious dude, but I will say it's like, well, if God created everything, who created God? It's kind of like NMN. That's where my brain goes. It goes into these long, like, I could think about this stuff forever, you know? And so, yeah, you need NMN to actually make NAD. This is why when you just take NAD to actually, it's not creating NMN. You're not dealing with the issue. You're not dealing with the thing that can actually make the actual version of NAD that your body recognizes. Because everybody has a little bit, everything's a little bit different with each of us, right? Everything's a little bit different. And that's why you need the one that's the right key that goes into the right lock so that you can actually utilize it properly. You got to think of it like this. You can go to the doctor and a doctor will give you a prescription of whatever. Let's say you're dealing with something and you get 7 pills. And let me tell you, here's a great example. I went to get my wisdom teeth taken out and they gave me this pill to get my wisdom teeth taken out. It was like this octagon little shape. It was orange and it was the tiniest thing I'd ever seen. And it actually causes post-surgery amnesia. Isn't that crazy? So you don't remember the trauma of them having their knees on your chest and ripping out your teeth. But this tiny, tiny little pill caused so much to happen inside the body. It doesn't take much, right? You don't need that's why the whole thing about the IV bag therapy of getting all this into your body, they have to flood the body. Think about your body's not big. Think about all that liquid, right? All that NAD has to go through your whole entire body in hopes that you actually can utilize some of it. I hope it's like really starting to sink in here with why we're helping the body by giving it NMNH, which is up to 10 times more powerful than NMN was used to be naturally created within your body. And there's ways you could do that, right? With diet and sleep and exercise, your body can actually make its own NMN. But here's what's super cool is that if you start to have more NAD in your life by taking NMN, H, and the other aspects of it that create NAD, guess what's going to happen? Because you have more NAD in your body, you're going to utilize food better. Because you have more NAD in the body, you're going to get up, you're going to sleep better, you're going to fall asleep better, you're going to toss and turn less while you sleep. Because of that, you're going to exercise more, you're going to get outside and be in sunshine, you're going to do all these things. And what's this going to do? This is going to help your body make its own NMN and NAD more naturally as well. So by having a healthier lifestyle, you're going to boost the ability of the reverse in your body as well. That's why it's amazing. That's why I believe in a healthy lifestyle for sure. It's going to only make it even better and increase the benefits of it.
Take your
Okay.
reverse. Get
I have
Robin
another
to do a
question before we
Facebook Live
jump
with
off
you.
here. I have one last little question. So we've been talking about different times of the day. So that's another big question I'm getting asked is I've been taking it first thing in the morning, and I honestly feel like maybe it gives me an energy boost. I'm not sure, or maybe it's from the day before. I'm not really sure and tuned into that yet. But the people who are getting tired, I'm definitely telling them to take it in the evening. But what would you suggest? And I know that Sarah's kind of switched hers in the last couple of weeks to taking it in the evening. Would you suggest people take it in the evening? I'm scared to take it in the evening because I was worried that I wouldn't be able to sleep because of an energy boost. But what I'm hearing now is maybe I should be switching.
Your cells have something called mitochondria. It's the engine of a car. The mitochondria give out a fuel source called ATP.
Yep.
ATP is a fuel. NAD boosts the power of your cells so your cells can be more efficient, so you can have more energy, right? And the mitochondria, you're not laying in bed. Think about like you're 20 years old and you have very efficient cells, very efficient engines that can boost out ATP, but at bedtime, they're sleeping. Energy to do all the things, including sleeping, you need the right fuel source to be able to do that. So taking it at night is not going to give you more energy. But during the day, what NAD is going to do is it's going to boost the function of ATP production in your body, which is why you'll get that boost. You'll
Okay,
wake
thank
up more energized. But I
Well, yeah,
don't,
I'm actually waking
yeah.
up with so much brain clarity and energy compared to what I was. It's like the brain clarity that I'm waking up with now, where I'm able to form complete sentences like within minutes of waking up. I wasn't able to
Mm,
do that for the last 5 years. And as much as I love our rise, our mushroom juice, because it wakes up my brain, I'm at the point where I'm like, I'm still gonna take it because I know all the benefits of it, but I don't think
yeah.
like I need it like I did a few weeks ago because I'm
This is
waking
why,
up with that
this
brain
is,
clarity.
yeah, and this is where, like, a few months ago when we knew that this product was coming out in December, where I just went, if people only knew. This is why it's so important for us to really help people understand the power of what this is. It's challenging because it's a pill, right? That's the challenge. It's a pill. It's not sexy. Thank goodness the bottle is, but it's really not sexy to share, and that's why it's so important to be an advocate of this for everybody. I will say